let's jump right into things. If there's anyone who joins late, or if you need to jump off early, we are recording this, so we'll be sending around a copy of the webinar afterwards. So thank you for joining, and we'll get right into things. So pleasure to meet anybody who I haven't already. My name is John Kennedy. I'm the Sustainability Manager for GreenCheck, the Sustainability Division of RiskCheck. Today, if you weren't absolutely certain about what we were going over, we're going to be talking about some of the uh, most common problems people run into with sustainability reporting. My focus and my experience is within commercial real estate, so anything that I speak about comes from that lens. However, many of these problems we've heard from clients are not related to just commercial real estate. They apply to all sectors. Uh, Before we dive right into things here, just an idea of how the flow of this webinar is going to go. First, just going to be able to try to get an idea for where people are at with their sustainability journey. Afterwards, we'll take a look at the top four challenges people typically run into on reporting. After that, well, during that, as we speak about those challenges, I'll give you some ideas for general workarounds, things that you can use for free or online or from very common services people already have to be able to try to help you out with those issues. And finally, I'm going to give a short demo of RiskCheck Connect, our proprietary tool that we've designed in order to be able to try to help address some of these issues. If you do have questions, by the way, please pop them into the question and answer section. One of the consultants on the GreenCheck team, Brittany, is going to be watching the chat for us to be able to make sure any questions are addressed in a timely manner. Now, first things first, I did want to do a bit of a pulse check here. So in a second, I'll ask Brittany to put that up on the screen. But there are typically 5 levels, 6 if you count non-compliant, for people along their sustainability journey. This might look familiar to you. This has been around since about 2005. It's the business sustainability maturity model. Now, most people typically fall within levels 1 and 2, and industry leaders typically fall in around levels 3 and 4. But just to give you a bit of an idea, non-compliant groups are typically the ones that don't have any environmental standards or tenant health considerations. They don't do any benchmarking. They don't have any sustainability policies. Level 1 is really the people where they are doing sustainability, but they're really just doing sustainability to check boxes or to be able to get certifications and scores and public recognition. So things like achieving LEED Silver or trying to get a score for GRESB. Typically, these people are getting the information, but not a ton is actually happening with it. Level 2 is taking that a bit of a step further. This is where I would say most of the people who are dealing with green hushing right now are lying, where they're doing a lot of sustainability, but they're really just focusing on efficiency because, unfortunately, with some of the changing political winds, sustainability is a dirty word within some of those organizations. So they do what they can, and they typically are able to justify things just by showing the operational improvement. Level 3 organizations, you're looking into a comprehensive portfolio strategy for sustainability. It influences investments, development decisions, tenant engagement, and they typically will have net zero targets ready to go for 2050 or sooner. Level 4 and 5, this is where things get quite a bit more involved. Level 4 is really those strong leaders who are saying that ESG is really woven into all of the decisions they make. These are companies that have ESG tied to their executive compensation packages. They have KPIs going all the way down from utility consumption to emissions targets, and they're typically starting to focus on non-net operating income improving sustainability initiatives. So things that might actually have a negative ROI for their organization. And finally, the last one, these are kind of like the unicorns. There's not a ton of them out there. These are companies that were created around concepts of sustainability. So, Brittany, if you don't mind, would you mind posting the poll there? And for everyone, what level would you say that you are at, either non-compliant all the way to purpose-driven? Just wanted to be able to get a bit of an idea of where everyone's at for their journey, to be able to help people and frame this conversation in a way that can help people out the most. I'll give it another few seconds here. So efficiency focused, strategic proactivity, compliance driven. That's nothing to be concerned about. That's where most organizations fit right now. So this is something that over time, people are slowly moving up that maturity curve, but it takes a lot of effort and a lot of investment to be able to do that. Now, the reason we're here today, we're going over why sustainability reporting is difficult. But first, I think it would probably be worthwhile for us to all be on the same page on why it matters. So you're really trying to build value through transparency. Sustainability reporting doesn't have a direct impact on your ROI, your net operating income. It is really a driver of future value. It's one of the biggest problems with sustainability is that it's not a direct correlation between you invest $1 here and you're going to get an investment on one other side. What it does do, though, is it brings in attract investment from ESG minded investment groups. So many banks, insurance providers, real estate investment trusts are focused on ESG because they are looking at these assets in the very long term, and they know what will happen if they don't. It's also the plus of most green initiatives will lead to reduced operational costs. So sustainability reporting will help you identify some of those, and especially help you identify risks before they can actually become a problem. And it'll help you with your public perception and with the stakeholders within your supply chain. Some people are the drivers. What I typically find with the clients we work with, a lot of them are the drivers. They're the ones that are pushing for this to happen. So some of their stakeholders they're pulling along. Some of them are still ahead, but most of the time they're the ones that are helping make these changes. And finally, sustainability reporting, because of its nature and how many people it typically involves, it really does drive innovation. Because when you start collecting all of the information and analyzing it in a holistic way around your whole organization, you'll sometimes find ways to be able to improve. And sometimes you'll even find opportunities that otherwise never would have appeared. Now, we're really going to be looking at very specifically challenges for sustainability reporting all along the pathway. Really, there's four major challenges that we find. There are other problems, don't get me wrong, but these are the ones that come up most frequently. The first one is everyone's probably heard some version of these words, but there are data silos within their organizations, and it's difficult to be able to break those down. Sometimes you're going to have information in different departments, finance, operations, HR, facilities management, even looking into the sustainability team itself, if there is one. And reports become outdated. Decision makers are typically um, not aware of all of the data, and they're making decisions without the full picture. And the last one I find to be the most difficult, the largest impact, and that's just the administrative and technical burden of reporting. So there's a lot of work that has to go into making it happen. And all of that time spent on administering the report is reduced time to be able to look at the technical side. But driving into each of these here, information being spread across multiple spreadsheets and systems. This is really a This is an this is a universal problem. This is most organizations are dealing with this to a certain extent. Whether data is in a SharePoint folder that is accessible to 90% of the organization, but then the actual data that needs to be used is in a spreadsheet only accessible to 10%, things can typically go wrong along this way. Uh, on research that we've done, about 40, anywhere from 40 to 60% of the time spent preparing sustainability reports in the entire process comes down to locating and consolidating the primary data that's used. It is a massive lift, and this ties into the fourth challenge as well. But when you're looking at this information, there are some workarounds you can consider. One of the ones that I typically recommend if people are looking to stay as low cost as possible and stay internal is to build a master Excel file and make sure that everybody within the organization who has a need or has a role to play in sustainability has a connection to that Excel file. Using a shared repository for your information, making sure that you've got naming conventions and version codes so that you avoid any duplication of effort. The most important one, though, I would say is looking to assign data stewards throughout the organization. So go through the exercise of determining all of the information that's necessary for your sustainability report, break it down data point by data point, and say who is responsible for this. That will help. That'll go a long way. It's not going to go the whole way. Some people might win the lottery. They might leave the organization, and those data steward responsibilities are difficult to make sure that they're transferred over. Challenge number 2, looking at the data that's included within the actual report. There was some research done by a major accounting firm, one of the big four recently, that showed that the data from corporate sustainability reports, so those public facing ones, by the time it gets published, it's up to 18 months old by the time it's ready to go. Internal reports are quicker because they don't need to have such a level of verification and assurance over the top. But by the time the information in those internal reports gets to key decision makers, it's often outdated, and that can sometimes lead to poor decisions along the way. Again, each of these challenges, I'm going to give you some ideas on free workarounds. This one's a project management issue. If you're able to establish regular reporting schedules throughout the year to make sure that everyone knows the role they play and when they need to contribute, you can shorten things. But most people are working with information like utility data, which can be lagged behind by several months. So even in the best of cases, you aren't going to have the information you need right up front, right away. Now, this is a problem that I'm going to get into a little bit with the demo. Live up-to-date dashboards can help. If you're going to try to do this through Excel files for your reporting, Excel files work great until they don't. They break when they get more complex, when you start to add in things like macros and back-end queries. Unless everything is done perfectly and you've got a head architect who's always going to be there to make sure it stays, it becomes a bit of a headache. Challenge number 3, lack of transparency for key decision makers. This is very tied to the prior one. Data is given to decision makers late, and decision makers are often making their final calls without the full picture. Now, not every decision maker is going to be a data nerd who's going to want to see every single piece of the puzzle, but providing access to all of the information in a way that can be reviewed and traced easily can go a long way to making sure that everyone is on the same page. When you have lack of transparency, it can often lead to missed opportunities. For example, imagine a real estate company that's deciding to invest, millions in a solar installation on the roof of their retail center. And if they don't have the actual updated usage data, instead they're just seeing one annual number up at the front, they might not be on board with the idea of reducing consumption. Solar systems can typically reduce the overall demand, and demand charges for large places can save quite a bit of money. So making sure that they've got all of the figures and they're able to see that if they need it can go a long way. Some people won't ask questions even though they might need the help. Uh, I don't honestly have many free workaround ideas for this one. This is really tough. You need to get buy-in from all of the levels of the organization on where and how important transparency is in reporting. And if you do, then it's going to be easier to make sure that all of the steps along the way are met and that all of the information can be accessible to the people that need it. And reporting challenge number 4. This is typically where I find the most difficulty for our clients. They either have the support for collecting the data or they've got the people that can interpret the data, but usually those people are on the same team. The sustainability teams are often sustainability reporting is just one part in their yearly process, and they don't have the capacity to be able to do it all. Sometimes they're embedded within finance teams, facilities teams, EHS teams, and if they don't have all of the support they need, then something's going to break along the way. Either you're going to miss data and you'll misreport, or you'll have the data, but then how are they going to be able to action it? When you're trying to think of any challenges that you might be able to think about or any workarounds, this is one where people typically spend the most money in sustainability. And in my opinion, this is why sustainability has got such a bad rap for some organizations, those ones that are doing greenwashing, because they'll typically rely on third-party consultants on a project-by-project basis. It works. Consultants can do really good work, but if they don't have the full picture, then they're going to they might miss some otherwise very helpful pieces of information. And I would love to say that, this is something that has been solved. There is a perfect solution here, but the reality is, until sustainability reporting gets a little bit more streamlined, this is going to be something that organizations continue to run into. We've spent a lot of time thinking about this one, and we're fairly happy with what we've been able to do with our system to be able to assist our clients. That is the meat and potatoes. Those are the challenges that we run into, but I do want to hear from you. For those challenges, do those line up with the challenges you're running into with sustainability reporting? What are you feeling what is the largest challenge for your organization? Leave that for another 15 seconds just to be able to give people an opportunity. Might have to put down their forks while they're eating their lunch. It looks like we've got a pretty clear winner here, though, and scattered information is frequently the largest problem. So if you are struggling to make sure that information is all collected into one location, the best way around that, one, you can try to do some of those internal workarounds, but I'll show you what we do with our platform in a short bit. Second one here, just to be able to help inform that first part, how are you handling your sustainability reporting? Are you doing it through Excel files, Google Sheets, tools like Power BI? Do you have an internal team that does all of it? Are you using external consultants? Or do you have online platforms? GreenCheck is an example of that, but there's many, many out there. Measurable, Brightly's Stream platform, Resource Advisor from Schneider Electric. There's every single stream has, every platform has its own small difference. Interesting to see. This is a little bit internal and external assistance. Thanks for sharing that, Caesar. That's yeah, that does happen quite a bit these days. There's a mix between all of these. That's if you are going through and you're doing a bit of a mix, sorry, we didn't set up that poll to be able to allow people to select multiple options. But if you are, please share like Caesar did. We'd love to hear what the mix is for you. Now, last one here. This is a little bit. I like to word this as just if you had a genie, a very highly specific genie, only focused on sustainability reporting, where would you want to see improvements? Would you like to see that it's faster and less manual? Would you like to see that reports are updated automatically? Would you like to be able to make sure that you don't need to send that monthly report to the SVP in some other department, just making sure that they have access to the info? Or is it more that you need some help with the expert support? I'm liking what I'm seeing here. It's the less manual, less automatic. People are looking for data solutions to be able to make sure everything's in the right spot. I like to see that. It's good to see we've got the data side of everything. Now, what I want to do now is to be able to go in and show you how we run things through the GreenCheck system. It's through RiskCheck Connect. When we're looking at consolidating data and eliminating silos, making sure that all of those scattered pieces of data are collected in one spot, our platform is set up in a centralized, secure way with real-time access for everyone who might need it. When you're trying to think about the reports and how to keep things fresh, we've got the dynamic designed dashboards powered by Power BI on the backside to make sure that whatever is the relevant information for our clients' needs, we can provide. And it can make sure that that stays up to date and can even be sent out. For the transparency for leadership, we can make sure within our setup that based on the role of the user, they can get different access to information. So your property teams can see the buildings that they're responsible for. Your corporate teams can see the levels of the portfolio that they need access to and the pieces of the portfolio they need access to. And your owners can see all of the buildings that are associated to them. Sometimes people have one owner, so it's easy, but other organizations have many, many owners across the portfolio of buildings that they typically run. So getting access to all of that information is very important. And finally, the team that we have set up, I'll get back into this after showing you a short demo, but we're very proud of what we are able to share with everyone else. Now, I'm going to switch over here to the RiskCheck Connect dashboard here, just to be able to show you an example of a building that we work with. So this is the Maplestone Property Group. They're not real, but they're a building owner in the Toronto area. And so 21 Jump Street being one of their buildings it has a lot going on for sustainability. It has information that it needs tracked on certifications, on energy, waste, and water audits or other inspections. There are quite a few tenants within the building that all have different needs for sustainability reporting. Sometimes they're needed to send the information over. They've got documents that they need to be able to see. The GFA has grown over time. It's a place that is changing over time. It's growing. Buildings don't change often, but they do change. And being able to know when those things are happening is a huge, huge bonus in sustainability reporting. This can help address some of those issues. If you have your data in a system like GreenCheck, where you can track each piece of the puzzle on your certifications, your audits, and on the qualitative and quantitative data of the building, like the utilities that are used. You can be able to see the information in a single place. If there is information that you need to be able to track and change over time, if just using the electricity example, when you go through and you have any information that might need to be added, you're able to go in and provide commenting on the actual tracking sheet itself. So if you know that there is a increase in usage, that there's a massive spike, then you need to be able to share that information with others, and you need to be able to choose those people so that they're kept up to date and in the loop on the problems that you're running into in your system. So making sure that people are collaboratively working on this information is a great way to be able to simplify the overall sustainability reporting process, and making sure that people are assigned to specific parts uh, of the sustainability reporting process is also a very important way to be able to do that. Whether you need to collect information on the best management practices for your waste, or you just need general site information from your operations manager. When you have all of this in one spot, you can assign those pieces of information to those key people and set up custom notifications on a recurring schedule so that that info can be done. Sometimes nothing changes though. Sometimes you're just going to want to be able to go in and select a prior form to be able to auto-populate the information. And that's just in ways of being able to try to reduce that administrative burden. The second part, that's really the client responses piece and the portfolio pieces that I showed you there. That is really from one side. But the more important part here is to be able to look from the actual reporting tools that you have access to. I seem to be having a bit of an issue here with the dashboard loading. This is why you don't try to do everything live, but that's just a problem that I'm going to have to deal with. Here we go. So reporting changes for every organization, but typically people are looking to collect a few similar pieces of information. Most sustainability reports need the qualitative data from your utilities, your waste, your water, emissions, performance, and being able to see that information for your whole portfolio can make a big difference, especially when you're trying to clean and prepare the data for your annual reporting processes. For example, waste and recycling. Something strange is going on here over some of the historic data. So if we go and drill down into the information, we can see that info is coming from one specific building. And if you're able to see that, then you're able to connect with your team to be able to figure out the problem quite a bit quicker and make sure that next year the issue is just taken care of so you don't need to worry about it. Same thing can be said for your energy, GHG, water, and waste. But sometimes you want to be able to see information in a different way. One thing that we find to be very helpful for many is the ability to see data completion over time. So you can really identify quickly whether or not all of the information you need is available and reported correctly. And when you have that information readily available, you can handle these bumps in the process of sustainability reporting quite a bit quicker. The same thing can be said for forms, whether you are collecting information on alternative transportation initiatives or you're collecting information on how the building is handling any waste. When you go and take a look into the form responses, sometimes pieces of information will pop out to be able to tell you, wow, okay, so there's actually 40 electrical vehicle charging stations at a specific location. Having information in that way can really highlight quickly different problems before they become large issues. And that fourth and third challenge, where we're talking about properties that might have shared ownership, or they have board oversight that wants to be able to get the information in a easily digestible format. And depending on who is involved, they need to have different accesses to information. Well, you can set up reports like this where the information is ready to go in an exportable format where you print or you schedule to be able to send the information out on a regular cadence. And that can take care of a lot of the problems. If you're sending reports like this out regularly, and if you don't need to put in a bunch of additional effort to do this, you can frequently have people reach out to you proactively from property teams or different areas of the organization, because sometimes they will know more about the data than you will, and they'll be able to see what might not be correct. And that can be handled way ahead of time before having to deal with something like, getting to the data verification stage where they're assuring your final sustainability report and finding out that you used an incorrect emission factor all the way through the entire reporting process, and now you need to completely rebuild it. Things that happen later on are typically costlier and more time intensive to fix. So getting this information, depending on what you need, you can get this info in a way that works for you and your team. I did say I wanted to keep that short, so let me stop there and go back to the slide deck here just to wrap things up. The piece that I say, with that last challenge of the administrative burden and the technical burden, that one's really hard to solve with platforms on its own. I know I just showed our system, and look, I like the system we use for GreenCheck. It's great, but systems alone are not going to solve all of the problems. The way that we handle things with GreenCheck, the way that we run our managed service, is by helping teams when they need the assistance. Brittany and some of our other consultants are assigned to each asset manager in each client that we work with in order to be able to make sure that we have an understanding of the data used by our clients. And so when they have questions, we can provide answers. If you have anything that comes up with sustainability, there's a lot of different parts to the puzzle. So having some expert assistance can be a big, big bonus. And just to wrap things up here, guys, some of the key takeaways. Sustainability reporting has its challenges. They are all over the place. Many people in many different sectors are facing similar problems, and workarounds can solve some of the pain. But just like individual effort, workarounds have their limits as well. When you can have dashboards and support in a way that works together, getting that clarity and confidence goes a long way for making sustainability a part of your organization. If you have everybody on the same page, it's easier to get to the end goal of actual ESG performance improvement. If instead of focusing on sustainability reporting, you're focusing on sustainability initiatives, well, you're going to stop burnout for the team. You're going to be able to make sure that everyone is enjoying the work that they're doing, and you're going to have more purpose-driven work within your organization. Finally, well, this is very tied into what I just said, but you've got better reporting leads to better decisions and real action. Now, that is all I've got planned for this. I would like to be able to hear some questions from the audience. This always happens with webinars, though. a lot easier to do in person to get people to provide actual questions than it is in a webinar. So I do have some frequently asked questions that I'll be able to go through here to be able to address. So until I see some of those questions come up, Brittany, please let me know if any of those do appear. I'll start going through these frequently asked questions to be able to see if any of this answers the questions that you might have had. So on the general challenges, why not just stick with Excel and those workarounds, especially if you're using them effectively? I'll be the first to admit I'm guilty of this. I use Excel almost every day. Even when I'm doing my sustainability work, I'm still using Excel to do some. The problem is the more complex your process becomes and the further along your sustainability journey you get, Excel can become burdensome and difficult very quickly. A lesson I learned a few years ago, I had an Excel file that was almost a gigabyte in size because we just kept adding to it to make sure that we could handle more and more and more pieces of information. And it started to break down where it would crash all of Excel. So if you have a process, if it's effective, absolutely keep using it. But I think the better question to ask is what could go better and go from there. For organizations with highly customized reporting processes, the way we handle it at GreenCheck is that if the customized reports that they need align with a broader goal of sustainability, we can sometimes design them to include within our regular dashboard package. Otherwise, we charge a nominal fee to be able to include those custom dashboards and make sure that they stay up to date. So if you've got a donation program that is completely different from anyone else within the industry, and you want to make sure that that is represented properly in your reporting, yeah, absolutely. We can help design those things to help you keep track. For data systems, how can GreenCheck integrate with our existing systems? Don't think I've had the chance to say this, but if Brittany would know, I brag about how customizable the RiskCheck Connect platform is. We have built a custom API integration tool. So if you have information resting in Tableau or SQL databases within your organization, or if you have information resting in other sustainability reporting softwares or in ESPM, it doesn't matter where it is, we can connect to it. It just needs to be set up in a way that can continuously update. What happens if our data isn't complete or accurate? Will your system help to clean it up? So one of the biggest problems, and a lot of people in this call seem to agree, data collection is a massive problem within sustainability. It is slowly getting better, but the way we handle things is by having our consultants do regular data quality reviews, and they communicate and work with the property teams to make sure that it gets cleaned up. That information is then tracked in the system through comments and audit trails so that you can see when improvements are made to the data and you can see the improvement over time. Dashboards, how real time is real time? It depends on the information. Some people track interval data, which comes in every 15 minutes. Other people are only tracking their monthly utility bills and quarterly questionnaires. So it really does come down to the information that you need to track. Human support. Actually, sorry, I think I saw something in chat here, so I'll take a half second to take a look. What kind of support do the consultants at GreenCheck provide to the people that are using the GreenCheck portal? Well, I just answered that. David, thanks for the question. Just to summarize again, consultants provide expertise around any components of sustainability, whether that's certifications, data assurance, or building initiatives like energy audits, or and they provide data integrity reviews. That's being supported by our analysts and our business intelligence team, but they are always going to be the client face to be able to make sure that people have the info that they need. Good question, though. Thank you for that. Human support. How involved are your consultants? Lines up perfectly with what I just said. It depends on how much assistance is needed. And that really comes down to what level of your sustainability journey you're on. What we typically find is people within levels 0 through 2, the consultants get quite heavily involved. They have quarterly data review meetings and regular monthly checkpoints where they are communicating with our clients. People that are higher along the chain, we typically take more of a step back. They usually know what they need, and what they are looking for from us is data stewardship. So we just make sure that their information is where it needs to be, and we make sure that the people in their organization who need to get those answers are getting that information into the system. Why should we not just hire our own sustainability consultant internally? Look, I'm going to be the first to say hire a sustainability team member for your organization. No matter how far along the path you get, there is going to be more and more and more. It gets more involved and more in depth. And once you have your reporting process figured out, those sustainability consultants are going to be able to touch every branch of your business. Whether you're taking a look at the procurement policies to make sure that your vendors are involved, or whether you're looking at your building certification processes to make sure that you are getting the most bang for your buck when you go after BOMA or LEED. Sustainability can do that. In the interim, we help people all the time, and we work with sustainability teams all the time. GreenCheck is not a replacement for a sustainability team, although we do provide a fully managed service if that's required. I always find it's best to work collaboratively. I think I have just a couple more questions here. So besides this here, if there's nothing left, then we'll call it a day after this. The broader ESG strategy. So is GreenCheck's system adaptable to specific frameworks like GRESB, GRI, CDP, or regulatory reporting requirements? Emphatically, yes. We are able to adapt to specific frameworks. GreenCheck is a GRESB premier partner, so we work with them very regularly and stay in the loop on the changes before they hit the broader audience of the GRESB community. We also work regularly with certification organizations like Fitwel and Rick Hansen to make sure that information is there. We do offer services for regulatory reporting, such as EWRB data collection, works the same for the Vancouver emissions reporting. So yes, if there's a specific format needed for data exporting, that's something we can absolutely set up. Again, it's a very customizable setup. I've been talking for quite a long time there. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I will stay on here on the call to be able to answer anybody's questions. Otherwise, I'd love to be able to hear from you on the challenges or the successes you've got with your sustainability journey. We can absolutely set a time to be able to give you guys a demo of how we run things that would work specifically for your team. Or if there's other things that you need help with, we also do quite a lot of work with data assurance and with certification support. So love to hear from you. If not, see you next time when we have our next webinar. If you're looking for more information on sustainability reporting, we actually did a we just posted an article where we were working with the director of real asset analytics, Parag at GRESB. It's a great article. I sat down to give a bit of an interview with him. So if someone is able to share a link to that, it would be appreciated, but we'll include that in the webinar wrap up when we send it out. Thank you for your time, everybody. If there's anything that people want to ask, I'll hang around until time closes out. Otherwise, Have a great fall, and we'll see you next time.